This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Party Loaded for Wednesday night, I want to say the 4th of July. Not relevant for us here in Australia. We don't like to set everything on fire, but hey, it's a significant date nonetheless somewhere around the world. So, I'm here, my name's Luke Retallick, Christian Paulson Brown is here. How you doing, man?
I'm good, thanks.
We're good. GameDad is here, Matt Dyet, returning to the show. Welcome back, Matt.
Hello, thank you.
All right. So we should give Matt a special shout out because he has jumped in at very late notice to come hang out with us and talk games tonight. Jam is sickly again. The winter plague has claimed yet another soul. But that's all right. We'll forge on nonetheless. And we've got some cool stuff to talk about tonight. So it shall be good. For anyone listening, though, if you happen at any point during the episode to hear a sudden burst of torrential rain, sorry, but we cannot do anything about it. It's one of those things we're just going to have to manage. So you can take your pick. It could be on my end. It could be on Matt's end. It could be on Christian's end. It's a game that we're all playing and we don't know how it's going to go. So
Perth is actually having weather. It never happens.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, you know, we're not one of them hyper-class Melbourne podcasts. We don't usually have to deal with the kind of crap. I put on my best hoity-toity sort of voices.
Melbourne, more.
Exactly.
Nobody in Perth is prepared for rain, whenever it happens.
No, that's it. No, we're not podcasting, sipping coffee out of wooden mugs with avocado chasers. No, that's not us at all.
Avocado chaser after coffee sounds awful.
That does sound terrible. That does sound really bad. What was that thing that was doing the rounds recently where people were having like broccoli cappuccinos or something weird like that?
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yeah, no, like it's like some broccoli powder that they were replacing. Like you normally do like a chocolate in a cappuccino, you sprinkle it on top. They were doing like a broccoli powder instead.
Oh, good
Why?
God.
No.
Yeah.
The whole idea was to get people having more vegetables in their diet, but it's like it's such a small serving, I don't see the point.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Dehydrated broccoli powder, I don't imagine retains much of the nutrition.
No.
Probably not.
That's being edgy for the sake of being edgy, I think. You're ticking a box, you're not actually making a statement.
Yeah.
Gross. Anyway, things that aren't gross. Video games. Let's chat about some games. Matt, you are the guest tonight, so let's throw it to you and you can tell us all about what you've been playing since the last time we've caught up. Well, actually, maybe not the whole lot, because it's been a little while. So what's the recent stuff?
So recently, I played a bit of Destiny 2 to play the faction rally.
Oh, yes.
Which was a little bit frustrating. I was a little bit disappointed. It feels like they need a little bit more tweaking on that. But that said, Destiny is just one of those things I love and will always keep on coming back to. I might have like substantial breaks in between, but you know, it's like that friend you have overseas that you never talk to, but you know you will always be friends. You know,
yeah, that's a good analogy. I like to think of it more as like a bad penny. It always turns up eventually. So
that also works. like one of those friends overseas.
Yeah, exactly.
I think of Destiny as a restaurant I don't like, but I go to because my friends want to go there. Not a huge fan, but I enjoy playing it with friends.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Which faction were you repping this time, Matt?
Oh, I had to rep Future War Cult, otherwise I think everybody would kill me.
Well, then you won. You did good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is that the first time they've won, isn't it? I think.
It's their first time. Like the game has been out, and we've had faction rallies for over a year, and it's the first time Future War Cult's won.
Nice. There you go. Your fair weather supporting paid off nicely.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I've only done one other faction war thing, and that time around I was who was I backing? I can't remember. But this is the first time I was backing Future War Cult. So, and it's the first time that the faction I backed won. So.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
But other than that, I've been playing a rather large Stellaris game with some friends over in the United States, which has been a lot of fun. Stellaris is actually quickly becoming my most played game on Steam.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine was actually close to my most played game on Steam, not because I'd actually played it that many hours, but because back in the early release time of Stellaris, the only way to actually get ahead in that game was to leave it idling on your computer while stuff completed while you played other games. So
yeah, I have 534 hours in Stellaris.
Yep.
That's huge.
I like it. It's a lot of fun. Funnily enough, I have 534 hours in it, but that's only for a few games. Just playing it through, completing the end game crisis, and then just being like, well, I still have some objective I want to achieve. I don't even like it. It's an excellent strategy game, but I actually like it more as a storytelling thing. It's actually very interesting for the stories.
I've not played it since the, what was the Planetary Destruction expansion or whatever they
Annihilation?
That's the one,
I think it was.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, so Annihilation's really cool, but they give you all these really cool big tools to use, and then everybody hates you whenever you use them, so...
Yeah.
It turns out that being robots and going out and just completely wiping out an entire organic race from the surface of a planet doesn't make you very popular with people.
Yeah, there's like a whole movement led by a guy named John that deals with that, if I remember correctly. So,
but other than that, I've actually been like having a real nostalgia kick recently. So I went and plugged in my Xbox One for the first time in ages and was playing all the Halo games.
So when you say Xbox One, this is
original
how
Xbox.
Their marketing is so confusing. Yeah,
yes.
original
OG.
Xbox.
No, the newest one. So Xbox One.
Oh, Xbox
okay.
One. This is the
Yes.
Master Chief Collection?
Yeah, so Master Chief Collection. I actually have my old Halo Reach and ODST discs, so I threw them in first. Mm-hmm. And I was super impressed. So I did not realize that it actually has all your save games from way back.
Oh, so
if
the
you go
backwards
and throw in
compatibility of
Reach-
save files as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow.
So I put in Reach because one of my favorite things about Reach was playing through as my own custom Spartan, right? And I'm like, I don't really mind. I like the storyline enough that I can play through it anyway with the default one. But then you put the disc in and it's like, I'm downloading save. And I'm like, if this is doing what I think it's doing. And sure enough, like my Spartan from like, what was it, 8 years ago is right there. It's
Holy
like,
moly.
that's so cool.
That's really cool.
So I played through the Reach campaign. I played through ODST. I finished Halo 1 and Halo 2, and I'm halfway through 3 right at the moment.
So how do they
But the
hold
Halo
up? That's
games-
what I'm actually interested in.
Okay, so potentially unpopular opinion. Not a fan of 1. I don't think 1 has held up that very well. I adore 2, and I know that a lot of people have a lot of issues with 2, and I totally understand why, but I actually really liked the Arbiter's storyline and seeing the Covenant side of the conflict and the story that goes on there. 3 just has spectacular open battles, and they are still so cool. Like, if there's one thing I'm disappointed about at E3 this year, even though they announced Halo Infinite, I really wish they'd actually announced a remaster for Halo 3. Like, that would have been amazing.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Because if they remaster 3, they're going to remaster ODST, and ODST is clearly the best of the Halo series.
Yeah. Well, because Master Chief Collection is just a port, isn't it? They haven't actually done any work on those titles beyond making them compatible.
There's a little bit, isn't there?
Yeah, no, so Halo 1 and Halo 2 are both remasters
Yeah.
in
Okay.
the Master
And
Chief
you can like
Collection.
toggle
yeah.
between the original graphics and the remastered graphics with like a button.
Yes. So as a game developer, may I just add, it is incredible that they managed to make that work because it's instantaneous. There is no lag when swapping. There's no crossfade or anything like that. You press a button and you can see what it looked like before. Okay. And when you do that with Halo 1, it's actually quite like, okay, no, this is about what I expected because that's about what I remember it like. Halo 2 is super interesting though because it looks incredible. But when you swap to the old graphics, you're like, wow, I don't remember it looking this bad.
Yeah. Having the contrast probably has its downsides, like it being immediately available there. Because, sometimes you're comparing things in your memory, and that's not as brutal a comparison as actually
Yes.
seeing it side by side.
A lot of the time, remastered graphics are like how you remember the games, and then you go back, and then you're like, oh no.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One of the things I found interesting with 2 is that they did something really unusual with when they first released Halo 2, they had Breaking Benjamin, the band, actually do some songs for it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I think there might have been some copyright issues when they did the remaster, because in the remastered version, one of the songs early on in the game is actually a brand new one that they've clearly gone and put in there.
That was Blow Me Away, wasn't it? If I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah, it was Blow Me Away. But then you have to swap back to the old one. It still has Blow Me Away in it, which I always swap back to the old one because Blow Me Away in that part of the game is actually really cool. So, I find that really interesting. The remasters of Halo are actually, in my opinion, some of the best remasters out there, the way they've done them.
Interesting. Yeah. I am still a Halo virgin. I need to rectify this at some point in the near future.
I've actually never played Halo either.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one.
I've never owned an Xbox.
Oh, okay. That's fair. As it happens,
totally fair.
I actually have Reach on disc for 360, and now that I know I can plug that into my Xbox One without having to drag out old consoles and wire them up, that actually might be the deal maker for me to be able to do that.
If they put
I knew
Master Chief Collection on PC, I'd pick it up in an instant. But
Yeah.
Like I know. I wasn't expecting much out of the backwards compatibility for Xbox One, but it is really clear that they've put a lot of effort into it. There's actually a lot of love in there for it. I'm super impressed.
Yeah. Given the positive sort of press that they've had around the backwards compatibility and the comparison with that versus what Sony's sort of ended up doing, or lack of what Sony's ended up doing in that space this generation, I wonder if that's something they can afford to stop when we launch into the next cycle. Like, I think that's something that maybe like Microsoft especially needs every edge they can get, so continuing to support that same backwards compatibility model seems like it's in their best interest. So I wonder if we're going to see like a next box that it still has Xbox 360 games backwards compatible. That would be a very, very cool world to be in, I think.
I think they will, because like the Xbox One actually does still play the first Xbox's games.
Sweet.
Like, it goes that far back on backwards compatibility. It's really impressive. But I don't think they can stop doing that. I think that people will be dramatically disappointed if the next Xbox that comes out doesn't have that sort of backwards compatibility.
Yeah, agreed. Cool. All right.
But other than all that, I mean, I've been playing Jurassic World Evolution, I should say, not Jurassic Park Evolution. It's good.
So this is like a RTS thing, isn't it? Or like a
It's by the same developer that did Planet Coaster. But it's substantially less complicated. Like I had Planet Coaster for a very short amount of time before I returned it, because the barrier to entry was like this massive cliff that you had to get over. I've heard some of my friends that are big fans of it basically saying that they had to spend like 30 hours just learning how to play Planet Coaster, because it's huge. It's such a massive game. I've put 55 hours into Jurassic World Evolution, though, and finished it, gotten all the way to the end. I've actually put some more time in after I finished the game, because there's more dinosaurs to unlock and everything. The game's really substantial, and it's a lot of fun. It doesn't have quite the customization that a game like Planet Coaster has, where you can put down roads, then slap down, I'm going to put some garbage bins around here and that sort of thing. It's way less focused on the people coming in and out of the park, and way more focused on the dinosaurs that you're maintaining in the park.
My understanding is that the people coming into the park in some way are a bit of an expendable resource, because when you want to do some shady shit, the game actually sometimes encourages you to do some shady shit. Like letting dinosaurs out to test your security measures, and if a few people get eaten in the process, well, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, kind of thing.
That does happen, but what the game doesn't tell you until it's already happened is that in most cases where those objectives are there, it's like the reasoning behind it is we want you to let a dinosaur out so that we can test our security measures. So the objective there is to actually stop the dinosaur before it eats a whole bunch of people. So you can totally fail that objective by letting a T-Rex out and then be like, this is hilarious, as you watch hundreds of people just crush themselves up against his legs, or her legs, I should say. And then being like, I failed that objective. I've had that happen on a couple of occasions. Like, the game can actually be rather brutal and unforgiving in some of its missions, where it's like, nope, you are not allowed to have 3 people die when you're doing this mission. It's rough, especially when the park visitors are not particularly smart. They can get stuck in dinosaur pens, and there's a whole variety of problems with the park visitors. I have recently rebuilt my PC, so I've got a massively good processor in it and everything, and Jurassic World Evolution still uses up 100% of my CPU.
Oh wow!
It's apparently an issue that's carried over from Planet Coaster because it's calculating the AI for every single park visitor or something like that. So they're just this massive thing that just uses up a ton of computer resources.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, my girlfriend had played Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, which came out in 2003. And she was a huge fan of that game. So when they announced Jurassic World Evolution, she was super excited. So I've been able to get some really interesting perspective from her about like the differences in it. So the old game had like this alpha system where certain dinosaurs would be like the alpha of a herd of dinosaurs that you release out to the park. They don't have that in the new game. But what they've replaced it with instead is that the dinosaurs all have their own likes and dislikes. So a dinosaur might be like, well, I want to have a pen that's got a lot of trees in it. But that means that the dinosaur that wants a lot more open fields, you can't put them together because they're going to hate it. They're going to hate being in that pen. One of them's going to hate it, at least. Some of them like lots of company. Other ones prefer to more privacy and to have smaller herds. So the game actually ends up really being quite interesting in just managing your different dinosaurs. There's a lot of times where it's like, you've got a fantastic park and it's super safe and secure, and of all the dinosaurs that you don't expect to give you issues, it's the herbivores. And yet you have some Diplodocus that's getting really annoyed because its pen's too filled with other dinosaurs and it's bashing through fences and trampling over people.
Yeah, the breeding stuff actually does look quite entertaining, in terms of... I imagine it's kind of like their equivalent of a tech tree, but just done with, the different dinosaur genomes and things like that. Because you can splice all sorts of different DNA to get the more sort of hard-to-get ones and stuff, can't you?
So the way it basically works is that there's dig sites around the world that you can send different excavation teams out, and you basically get fossils from those dig sites. And from those fossils, you can extract a certain amount of DNA. I think it's about 50% of the genetic... once you've mapped like 50% of the genome, you can say, I'm going to make these dinosaurs, but then it has a 50-50 chance of failing when it's in the hatchery. So you have to keep on getting those fossils, sending out more excavation teams, that sort of thing. And as you understand more about their genome, you can actually modify the dinosaurs genetically a lot. So you can actually give them different skin patterns. You can actually make them hardier in combat. You can actually make them live longer. You can make them more resistant to disease and that sort of thing. Yeah. So you can make like one of my favorite things. The raptors are awesome. The sound effects and everything are from the original movies. They've got music from the original movies. It's so good. But I would love making these super intelligent raptors and then putting them out into a pen. But they're really finicky creatures, and whenever there was a storm, they would be the first thing to break out of their pen and go and kill everyone.
I was going to ask if you can make like the super dinosaurs from the recent movies, like the Indominus Rex.
Yeah, that does seem to be a very big recent theme, doesn't it?
Yes, so in the late game, so when the game first came out, you could make Indominus Rex when you got to the end game. And that actually plays into the whole big plot line the game has. Like, there's actually a really interesting story in there. So a whole bunch of characters make a return. I couldn't mention that Jeff Goldblum is in the game and plays Ian Malcolm again.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, so he's there, and basically the justification for his existence is basically he loves the chaos of the world, essentially. And so he can't just sit aside and not be a part of Jurassic Park as it's getting rebuilt, right?
Is it just voiceover, or is it like FMV?
It's all voiceover. There's no FMV or anything like that, unfortunately.
I'm not surprised they got him to do that, though, because I can see Jeff Goldblum totally just doing like a random sort of video game side project if someone just happened to ask him, just because he will do random shit like that these days.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why the interviews with him were hilarious. Like, I don't know how they keep him on track in the audio recording room.
You don't. You just let him go. That's how you make magic.
But they also have Owen and Claire from the most recent movies, but I don't know if they have their voice actors.
It's like sound-alikes.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like Chris Pratt, but it doesn't sound quite as excited as Chris Pratt.
I imagine he would be quite expensive to get at the moment.
Probably.
Yeah.
But Claire definitely has her actress. Like, that's definitely her. I'm very certain of that. But yeah, like the game has 6 islands. One of them is a sandbox island where you have no limitations on how much money you spend. The others all have their own objectives and everything, and all have their own difficulties. One of the hardest islands is just this really long, slender island where it keeps on getting battered by cyclones. Mm-hmm. And the game does a really good job of replicating the first movie in a really big way. Like, you have a storm that hits and it damages a fence, and then you have dinosaurs pouring out into the park, and you've got visitors rushing to these underground military bunkers that you've put on the park to keep them safe. It's really interesting. Like, it does a really good job of just replicating the events from the first movie. You have 3 different groups that you're also trying to appeal to. I think it's entertainment, military, and science.
Like every good theme park.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, no, the military guys, it makes sense. So Dr. Wu from the books and the movies, he is also in the game. He's basically a major antagonist, and he's working pretty closely with military. So he's the whole reason the Indominus Rex gets made, right? And so military is pushing you to make Indominus Rex, and Dr. Wu is a big part of that. The other one that you get to make later on is the Indoraptor, which is from the most recent movie. Yeah. Which, surprisingly enough, they released the Indoraptor into the game before the movie was actually in cinemas, so that was cool.
Interesting.
But yeah, so the game has actually a really interesting story. And I had a lot of fun with it. I haven't actually played any time on the sandbox mode because playing with the sort of limitations you have and the challenges you have of maintaining an island with a limited budget is really cool. And there comes a point with any good simulation game, you just start snowballing.
Yeah.
You're making so much money per minute now that you can't spend enough to run out of money.
Yeah. And then you start just mucking around and seeing how far you can stretch the oddball aspects of the game and what it lets you build.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It does, as I said, like the lack of little details is a little bit annoying, but I really enjoy it. I think it's an excellent game. I'm actually looking forward to playing some more later on.
Nice. Well, so Jurassic World Evolution sounds like I would recommend for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, well, on a similar topic, let's talk about some lady genies.
half genies, half genies.
Okay, yeah, all right.
So the only game that I've really been playing over the last week is Shantaes Revenge.
Such a great title.
It is. Now, I'd heard a lot about Shantae from Adrian, who we had on last week. I know he's played through the whole series, and I'd bought a bunch of them on Steam in a sale years ago and had never actually started them. But yeah, so I started Risky's Revenge, which is the second one in the series, but the first one was only on Game Boy Advance, so can't actually get it on PC. And even Risky's Revenge, I looked it up, and it was originally released as a DSiWare downloadable game. So it didn't even get a physical release. It was a downloadable game for the Nintendo DS. And then it went to iOS and then eventually got ported to PC and Wii U. But this is a game that for a long, since it came out 8 years ago, was stuck on downloadable DSware, which was weird.
That seems like the straight to VHS version of Nintendo eShop.
So these games are made by WayForward, who they're a very prolific developer. They put out tons of games, but they're mostly small licensed games or small iOS games. They've never really been known for any big AAA titles at all. And Shantae, I think, is their biggest original IP. And it's just like a 16-bit platformer, like something you'd find on Mega Drive. It reminds me of the old Aladdin and Lion King platform games. Pretty straightforward. She's a half genie and she whips people with her hair, and you just explore the little world and whip enemies, and you have to find the missing magic seals and defeat the bad guys. It's pretty basic, but it's really good fun. I just enjoy simple platform games a lot of the time.
Yeah. So this isn't the 3D one that I've seen around somewhere. There's another Shantae game that's like a 3D one, I'm sure.
I don't know. I haven't seen a 3D one. These are the 4 that have come out I'm looking at on the wiki. They're all 2D platformers.
Okay, I'm going to look this up later because I'm sure there's a 3D one. Yeah, because I remember seeing it on a Giant Bomb video at some point.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about because I thought there was one as well where she's kind of flying around or something.
Yeah,
she does. Okay. She does get like transformations in the game, but like so she can fly if she turns into like a bat and stuff. But that's all still in the 2D space. But yeah, we'll look it up later. But no, it's good fun. It's got a really cool art style, like the sort of anime-ish character designs. The series is known for having like a little bit risque character designs, which has a bit of charm to it. And yeah, I mean, not much to say. It's just a good, fun, simple platformer.
Yep. Yeah, good. Cool. Nothing wrong with a good, fun, simple platformer.
Yeah.
So you may remember before E3 that I'd fallen deep into another Minecraft hole, which I was struggling to get myself out of, playing a lot of Sky Factory and various modded Minecraft. As it turns out, still haven't dug my way out of that hole. So I have recently been sucked into a new edition of Minecraft Madness because Jam went and started a new Minecraft realm now that all of the cross-platform stuff is going on and we've got the Better Together update available on Switch. So the plan was for anyone that happened to have a Nintendo Switch, i.e. my kids, to be able to sort of jump on as well and us all play on this realm together. Now, part of that plan worked. The part where we all sort of relive, our gaming group from maybe 2-3 years ago, where we all used to hop on, almost every evening and play a bunch of Minecraft together and just, shoot the shit over Discord and have a great time. That's been going along swell. It's exactly like we used to sort of play with this particular group of people a few years back. The part that didn't work out though is the Switch part, because as it turns out, even though Minecraft has now sort of hit Nintendo Switch with the Bedrock edition, which is the one that's compatible with the Windows 10 edition. And it's the same across all the modern consoles. As it turns out, while crossplay is available and you can sort of do direct multiplayer, Minecraft Realms, which are kind of like the Minecraft server sort of multiplayer worlds that you can set up and pay like a subscription service to maintain, is not available on Switch yet. So our plans were kind of thwarted, which was really disappointing. Imogen even went to the effort of downloading Minecraft for her Switch so she could jump on and play with that instead of her PC, and she made the discovery, and we were all like, that's a bit shitty. So it will be coming sort of in the near future. They just, Mojang are really fast and loose with their dates. Like when they're working on stuff and when they've got stuff coming up, they never really give you a firm idea as to when it's going to drop. They kind of just say coming soon, and then all of a sudden you'll see a tweet or a press release somewhere that sort of says, hey, it's out now. You're like, oh, well, okay. Fair enough. Set your own schedule then. So... but yeah, the thing that they have added to the game, which I thought was worth mentioning just for a minute, was the Minecraft Aquatic update. So they've actually completely redone how oceans appear in the game. And I mean, Christian, you'd remember, and Matt, I'm assuming that you may have played a bit of Minecraft at some point because almost everybody has.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite a lot.
So you probably remember before that oceans were pretty much just like massive chunks of water with a whole bunch of squid.
Pointless squids, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, it was teeming with them, essentially. There was the odd sort of underwater temple where there was like some big, fish guardian creatures that you can beat and do that kind of thing with. And that was it. Now... completely different. Like you can actually see just about all of the different fish types that you can normally get from fishing are swimming around of their own accord now. So you can actually go into the ocean and just, fight them like you do normal mobs and get them that way. You can still fish, of course, but this is another way to do it. There are massive coral reefs that have been added to the game, like these huge, colourful sort of forests of plants underwater that you can actually see. And they've improved the basic visibility underwater now as well. So you don't need any of the special enchantments to be able to see perfectly. You can kind of see a bit better, and the plant life under there is actually visible now without having to use those enhancements. So that's really good. There's dolphins now, which actually lead you to sort of shipwrecks and hidden temples that have treasure in them. And if you attack them, they school up and they beat the fuck out of you. So that's kind of amusing. And yeah, it's just really, really cool. Like I've been enjoying it a heap. There's what they've released is part one of the aquatic update. There's a second part coming soon, I believe. And I've seen some advanced wikis on some of the stuff they're going to be adding soon. And there's one thing in particular that's got me really excited. There's a new weapon coming to the game very shortly, which is actually a trident. And you can use the trident in melee as per like a sword normally, but you'll also be able to throw it. just like you can shoot with a bow. So this is the first weapon that allows you to really do both. And this thing has some of the coolest enchantment upgrades I have ever seen in this game. You'll be able to enchant this thing to actually basically return to your hand after you throw it. So it's like an auto return. And the other thing that's got me really excited is there's an enchantment you'll be able to get on it where you can actually hit something in melee and call lightning on them. So it's like Mjolnir, basically.
That's awesome.
That is so cool. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But, yeah, like it's just otherwise a vanilla server, but we've been having a ton of fun. There's, about a dozen of us on there at the moment, just, working on various different projects. And, we had a bit of a diamond thief sort of thing to deal with in the opening days, where we finally hunted down who was responsible for that, and they got some mob justice. That was hilarious. So yeah, it's good. It's just like old times. It's been great. But amongst all of that, I've still found enough time to play a significant portion of Yakuza 6 this last week, and I am just about to finish that game. So I feel like I can kind of talk about it a bit more now. So after the sort of hard time I had getting started, I will say that the game opens up a lot, and it is definitely one of my favorite Yakuza games in the series so far. May even be my favorite, but Yakuza 0 is a very close contender with it because those are both great. So, but yeah, 6 is very, very strong on the story. It does simplify a few things that are a bit more complicated in the other Yakuza games. The combat especially is a lot simpler in 6, and that's both a pro and a con. Like, I think it's definitely a con if you like the styles of the previous games, where you have the different fighting stances and you can kind of switch between stances and completely change the way that you fight. Like, you can have like your dance fighting sort of moves versus like your weapon specialist kind of fighting stance, and your heavy dragon brawler and that kind of thing. It doesn't have that versatility in Yakuza 6. It kind of blends them all together, but the advantage to that is you don't have to switch stances mid-battle, and you've got access to a much wider array of moves, but you kind of always have them on tap. So it's a bit simpler to kind of do the moves that you want, and there's a lot more variety in the finishing moves that you have available, depending on what sort of moves you've been throwing in combination in the combat. But it just lacks that extra detail. But I'm finding that it's good because in terms of like playing the game, I tended to find that with the different stances before, you tend to favor one or two of them anyway, and you kind of fall back into the same habits and patterns.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it's good for that. And I think the general advancement system and the upgrades is really good too. Like you can now earn experience across, I think it's 6 different attributes, and all of your abilities, including your general sort of roaming around the world abilities and that sort of thing, are locked into those different attributes. So you actually need to train certain ones to get certain types of skills. You can't just sort of, get experience across the board and spend it on whatever. So it forces you to do activity types that are kind of more appropriate to the thing you're supposed to be getting better at, which to me actually makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that's pretty cool. There's some crazy weird sub games. There's like a whole thing to do with cats where you're basically starting like cat nurseries, and just it's odd. It's your typical sort of slapstick Yakuza weirdness where you this super brutal mob guy who gets involved in these super weird side stories that are just Hashtag Japan. That's the best thing you can say. So,
I've not played Yakuza. I want to play it simply because of the stuff you see about it that turn up on the internet. Like the chicken property owner or something like that. I forget what the story is, that thing. But you just watch it out of context and it's so funny.
It's awesome. It really is. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're only going to play one, or if you want to test the waters to see if you like the series, just start with 0, because it's the best one. It's sort of available now for the most part, I think. I mean, 6 is a contender, obviously, but there's a lot of stuff that's happened in the story before 6. So you're probably better off starting at the beginning anyway. But yeah, it does teach you the ropes of what the game is pretty well, and if you like that one, you'll probably like the other ones. It's a pretty good sort of bet. So yeah, but yeah, Yakuza 6. I'm not going to spoil any of the major story stuff or the ending that I'm sort of propelling towards, but I mean, I feel I probably don't need to talk about it on the show anymore, because I'm literally going to finish it in the next day or so. But yeah, would recommend, I guess, is the end point on that one. It is a super fun game. So, but anyway, we should jump into some news and stuff before we have another epic episode like last week. So we've got a few points to get through tonight. Again, not a super busy time of year for news, but Christian, why don't you kick us off with something that dropped just as we were wrapping up last week's episode?
Yeah, so just as we wrapped up last week, Blizzard announced the new Overwatch hero, which is Wrecking Ball. People have probably seen the clips and videos floating around online of this character, because he's pretty strange one. He's the little hamster named Hammond who's inside a giant robot ball. It's actually his escape pod. So Hammond comes from the moon like Winston does, who's another science experiment, and he crash landed in the desert of Australia, and then converted his escape pod into like a fighting mech. And in his little backstory video, he became like a junkyard brawler in Junkertown, and yeah, pretty wacky. Actually, in game, he's really interesting. Hey, he's got grappling hooks, and when he's in ball mode, because he switches between ball mode and like siege mode, he can actually kind of Spider-Man around as a wrecking ball, as his name implies, and just like swing between buildings and swing around posts and just demolish people. And it's pretty crazy.
I'm so happy they got that to work, because the name has to sort of mean something. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen some wacky clips, some involving bugs of him just like the physics just skitzing out and the ball just like going like a million miles an hour. And yeah, it's good stuff though. And then his ultimate, he like drops a whole bunch of mines around, and yeah, it's pretty good stuff. He's only available on the PTR at the moment, so he hasn't gone live. But yeah, I'll probably play around with him once he actually goes on the live server.
I have seen a few sort of people, the typical naysayers, as you will, doing the whole, there's a hamster character. Overwatch has totally jumped the shark. What's going on? Game is dead now. Do you guys think that in terms of the character choice that it actually fits with the world, or do you think that's a bit weird? I
personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I don't care. Like, there's plenty of characters I like. So if people want to like a little hamster character, that's cool. So whatever.
I would pretty much stand with that. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the hamster character, but the game has a gorilla that talks. So, like, it had already, there was no shark. Like, the shark has already been jumped. The game came out, and the shark was jumped.
Yeah,
for sure.
My prediction is that the shark jumping will actually be a character that they add to the game at some point in the future. It'll be a shark, and it will jump.
Well, I'm waiting for Jetpack Cat. Do you guys know about Jetpack Cat?
Yeah, the thing that was started doing the rounds with the Brigitte sort of release. There was some reference to her.
I'm not sure so I'm not sure where when it started, but I remember a while back an interview with, it was Jeff Kaplan talking about like early concepts, I think, and they wanted to have a character that had like full 360 degree flying, like more so than like Farah, who could actually stay in the air. And the early design was a cat with a jetpack. But they like scrapped it for whatever reason. But yeah, I want them to fully realize Jetpack Cat.
Yeah, that's going to be like the new Smash Ridley kind of meme.
Yes, for sure.
Nice. Yeah. Look, I think I'm all for it. And the mechanics for this thing sound super cool. And I think one smart decision they made in terms of the character was making it that the Hammond doesn't talk. So a talking hamster, I think, would maybe be a bit weird. But the fact that he only communicates using his AI theme-wise actually makes a lot of sense. So that's really cool.
It'd be really annoying if you had a little like Alvin and the Chipmunks voice squeaking at you all the time. So
yeah.
It actually makes for some good comedy as well. Like there's an animation where he says hello and he just like waves his little paw hand. But you hear this big, deep, bassy robot voice go, "Greetings." It's really funny.
I like the victory pose where he lies on top of the mech and does the same pose that Diva does, where she's lying on her back doing like the peace sign. It's
awesome. Great. I've seen a bunch of clips of what happens when he gets blown out of the ball. You see this tiny little hamster go flying across the room. That's great. Yeah, gives me life. All right. Well, there was a funny bit of news during the week relating to Grand Theft Auto. Now, often you see sort of, trolls or, hoaxes, particularly around a certain day in April where, game sequels, like particularly much anticipated game sequels are sort of leaked in inverted commas or sort of posted about online. And there was one that did the rounds this last week regarding the existence of Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, that seems like it's an obvious hoax, except for the fact that the hoax in this case actually took place inside Grand Theft Auto Online. So people were actually playing the game and there was a message coming across their game screens. So this wasn't outside on social media or anything like that. It was actually in the game engine, which appeared to be posted by Rockstar, sort of advertising that Grand Theft Auto 6, coming soon, more information to follow or something along those lines. Now, For the level of trolling that is, that's pretty good, except for the fact that if anyone has played Grand Theft Auto Online, you may remember that the game is rife with hackers as it is, and this isn't probably as much of a stretch as you think. So, yeah. But yeah, it created a little bit of confusion and a few hearty lols during the week. So I personally do not see Rockstar doing anything other than Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead for probably the next few years. If we are going to see a GTA 6, I reckon this is going to be like a 2020s, maybe mid-2020s kind of prospect.
Yeah. Anyone who thinks that Rockstar would talk about any game except Red Dead 2 at the moment is just crazy.
That is insane. So, yes. But, all right, well, what else we got? Matt, I'm going to throw it to you for the next one because you were mentioning that you'd seen the stuff during the week around Todd Howard's comments talking about Fallout 76. What's going on there?
Yes. So I'm just gonna quote Todd. So you cannot do crossplay in Fallout 76. We'd really love to add it, but right now we can't. Sony isn't as helpful as everyone would like. So tossing some real shade at Sony, but at the same time, this isn't the first time that Bethesda's tossed shade at Sony over something. So you might remember Bethesda has like their own mod service for all their games and everything. And the PS4 was the last one to get it. And it was through Bethesda throwing shade at Sony over the fact that it was so ridiculously difficult to get that on the PS4 that Sony actually did something. And like I actually have the quote from that old post. We consider this an important initiative, and we'd love to find other ways for our users to use mods to have them be available on the PlayStation for a PlayStation audience. However, until Sony will allow us to offer proper mod support for PS4, that content for Fallout 4 and Skyrim on PlayStation 4 will not be available. So this isn't the first time that Bethesda's really butt heads with Sony, but man, As a game developer, I love Sony and I love the games they make and everything, but I really don't understand their strategy at the moment for just having the system being so closed. There's stuff with Fortnite that happened just recently where if you have bound your Fortnite account to a Sony account at all, just not working on any other console, like that's really, really lame.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. They have been getting taken
it's not
to the
making
cleaners.
them popular.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like, I mean, Sony have since their disastrous sort of press release. I think it was immediately after E3 where they sort of came out sounding very, very tone deaf and sort of responding by basically saying, we've got this many million people on our console and they'll be just fine, kind of thing. Yeah. Sean Layden actually came out recently when he was in Spain doing the Game Lab conference, I think, and his response was a little bit more detailed and offered maybe a little bit of hope. So he basically turned around and said, they're looking at a lot of the possibilities and, they're confident that they'll get to a solution which will be understood and accepted by our gaming community while at the same time supporting our business. So, I mean, that's close to a nothing statement, but a little bit more, I guess. I don't know. What are the chances that PlayStation's just going to ride this out and wait till everybody forgets about it like they hope that people have with the PlayStation Network name changes? What do you reckon?
That last part worries me. Our audience will understand and accept our position.
Audiences don't do that.
Yeah,
unless they get what they want.
Unless you're coming out, dramatically in support of being crossplay, I don't think they're going to understand. Yeah. I'm really hopeful they do, but
I think the absolute most boneheaded thing they could attempt, and I don't think they'd do this, but who knows? I wouldn't put it past them at this point. Is if they actually try and link crossplay to something like their PS Plus service. So you actually have to be one of the paid online members to be able to do stuff like that. That would be bad.
Well, that you have to be a PS Plus member to play online in the first place anyway, so that wouldn't really work.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about the block from the other end of things as well, like people on other consoles playing with, Sony players. I mean, the account locking is a whole other issue with Fortnite. That's a whole separate thing. But
like, you don't get console crossplay. So if you're on an Xbox One, you won't get console crossplay with a PS4 unless you also have a PS4 account on that, shared account or something.
We're talking about absolute worst case scenarios here.
Yeah,
that's a pretty bad worst case scenario. Yeah.
Well, as opposed to worst case, just not being able to do it at all, I guess.
Yeah. There's no technical problems with them doing crossplay because I think it was Fortnite that actually had a bug when the game first came out where they were actually Xbox One players and PS4 players in the same servers for a little while.
Even the makers of Rocket League.
I think it was Rocket League. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
they
it was
turned around
Rocket
and said
League,
that there's
yeah.
no issue at all. They could literally flick a switch and make it happen overnight. So
Yeah.
And the only because they you can cross-play between PC and PlayStation with
Yes.
Portal 2. I know at least with Portal 2, but I haven't seen any cross-console play.
yeah.
So as I understand it, so Sony doesn't consider the PC in competition. So crossplay with the PC is fine.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's public knowledge. I'm not letting out anything here that's NDA'd, but
I think that works for Fortnite as well. Like you can have PC with PS4, you just can't do any of the consoles. Yeah.
Because I think it goes for mobile as well. Like you can be on the PS4 and playing with mobile players, possibly.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a problem for Sony directly in proportion to how much of a continued thing it is for Microsoft and Nintendo. Like if Microsoft and Nintendo for some reason stop doing crossplay with each other, then it'll blow over for Sony. But if they keep on like having more games that have crossplay, then it's going to keep being a big issue.
Yeah, Nintendo's the interesting one in this case because they've been in like traditionally in this really sheltered space where they haven't played with others a lot. Like there's a lot of this new stuff that's been happening in recent years with the Ubisoft sort of link ups with Mario and Rabbids and now Starlink Battle for Atlas and that kind of stuff. I mean, they've had the odd corner case things like, Snake in Smash and stuff like that. But it really does seem like as a company, they've turned a corner now and they're more willing to sort of mesh and cross those lines. And if I was Nintendo and if I was Microsoft at the moment, I'd be probably looking for as many opportunities as possible to keep doing that because it seems to be working for them. So,
I mean, did you both see the Minecraft trailer that Microsoft and Nintendo?
Yes.
Yeah. Like that is amazing to see Microsoft and Nintendo hand in hand on that. That's so cool.
Half the screen green, half the screen red. Like just two companies equal time. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Chocolate.
And if I was Sony, I'd be terrified.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, we talked a little bit about Halo before, and I think it is appropriate because this last week there was a new Halo TV series announced as apparently coming to Showtime, the Showtime network in the US. So now there's a lot of speculation about what this could actually be. No sort of real information in terms of whether they cast someone specifically to play Master Chief or Cortana or anyone like that. Did any of you guys actually see the Halo series that I think it was on? It might have been straight to online or
YouTube.
Or maybe it was even Netflix. I'm not sure.
Is that Forward Unto Dawn?
That's the one. Yeah. Did you watch that?
I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was it was kind of set in the Halo universe. Didn't really use a lot of the sort of main characters. If I remember correctly, Master Chief does show up briefly. But that series was super cool. If they do something like that, that's kind of set in the universe but doesn't sort of double down too much on the main protagonist from the games themselves and explores sort of side lore stuff, I reckon that could really work well. So, because otherwise, I mean, you're not going to have Master Chief. It'd be like having Master Chief as the key character in a series like that would be trying to do like a Doom TV series. You can't have Doom guy take his helmet off and talk. It just doesn't work. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
I would totally agree. Like, I think that they are, 343 in particular, are realizing that some of the most popular stories are side stories. So ODST is a beloved game, and there's no Master Chief in it at any stage. It has really cool, memorable characters. Like, there's actually still a fan base for the Rookie, and the Rookie is completely silent throughout that entire game. Because there's books and novels that cover him and the stuff that happens to him after what happens in ODST. Nathan Fillion's character from ODST goes on to be a Spartan that you get to see in Halo 5 and everything. Like, I think they're trying really hard to build up like a base of side characters to go and follow.
Yeah.
So I'd be really surprised if they followed the Chief. I would be really surprised.
Yeah.
I'd be disappointed as well. I don't want to see more of the Chief. I want to see new stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting choice of a property to adapt for TV, though. Like, I think there's far better sources of material out there. Like, something like The Witcher definitely makes sense because that's a very story-driven, game. But, I don't know, Halo? That struck me as very odd. So,
Well, there's a history of trying to get a Halo movie done. I know.
Yes.
At one point. Who the director of District 9?
Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah,
Neil Blomkamp. He was attached to it, and Steven Spielberg was attached to it at one point. And from what I understand, a lot of District 9 was actually made like the effects and that came out of District 9 were salvaged from his Halo project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have given me a lot of confidence with Neil Blomkamp being attached to it because District 9, but then again, it would have ripped my confidence away because, Neil Blomkamp and Chappie. So
it was also like the script for that movie was actually just Halo 1, basically.
Yeah, that's
and it wasn't very well adapted. Like, the script actually got leaked and it was not very good. So I'm actually kind of glad that movie didn't happen. But at the same time, so there is actually some advertising that was done for Halo 3 that actually had some ODSTs in it, and that was actually directed by Neil Blomkamp, and it's incredibly good.
Cool.
Like, it looks like a war movie. A lot of the advertising around Halo 3 was like that, and it was all really, really excellent. But yeah, I'll believe that the Halo TV series is happening when it's actually out, because we already saw with the movie what happened and everything. We got Forward Unto Dawn, but it wasn't quite what anybody was expecting. It was still really good. And then they had they had a mini series that I haven't actually watched, funnily enough, when Halo 5 came out. That was about the Spartan Lock.
Okay.
And that was directed by, wasn't it the Aliens director?
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I think it was directed by Ridley Scott, and apparently it was terrible, which is why I haven't watched it.
That does ring a bell, actually.
Yeah, they have done a couple of different things. So I'm really hopeful, crossing my fingers, that it does actually happen and they don't just follow the chief, because I think that'd be a missed opportunity if they did.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah. Well, anyway, on the topic of hoping that things happen, one thing that we hoped did happen and has happened, fortunately, is We Happy Few has passed through the Australian Ratings Board once again, and the keyword being passed. So it's no longer going to be blocked from sale in Australia. It has been approved for a R18 plus rating. Apparently, they managed to finally, through their resubmission, get their whole point across with regards to the drug usage in the game, so the use of joy, which is kind of what the whole game is revolving around, and managed to get it through to the keeper. So there was a really, really interesting write-up that I checked out on Kotaku today, actually, which goes through a bit of information around the review process for that. A couple of nuggets that I wanted to point out that I thought were cool. I didn't actually realize I knew that it was an expensive process to sort of launch an appeal when your game gets rated and you want to sort of fight it. I didn't realize it was $10,000 expensive. That is crazy. So I can imagine like small indie developers are not going to want to, take up that fight in most cases. Unless
for an indie, that sounds like it could be a problem. But for like a big studio, that'd be nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, in this case, Gearbox actually, turned around and supported Compulsion Games to sort of get that done.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
They were saying that without that they may not have been able to fight it, but it seems like a good result because they kind of were in agreement that the ratings board did everything in their power to work with the information they initially gave them. But when they did their resubmission for the appeal, they submitted like a whole bunch of spoiler information about where the plot goes and about 20 additional pages of context around that one particular issue. So they managed to sort of get it across the line as a result of that.
Yeah.
But it was just a really interesting read. So there you go. Rating video games, not as straightforward as perhaps you may think. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure the Australian Classification Board is actually one of the more expensive boards to submit to at all. And I say that having done Symphony, because if I remember rightly, it was in the thousands just to get it rated, period.
Yeah.
So having to go through and actually be like, no, we don't agree with this rating. Yeah, that's going to be expensive. I'm not surprised in the slightest.
Oh, yes. Yep. All right. Well, Christian, what's going on with the Game Critics Awards?
So I think just yesterday, the Game Critics Awards for E3 2018 were posted. So this is like the combined judges awards that they do each year. Like the sort of places that are on the panel, things like IGN and Forbes, Game Informer, Polygon. There's a whole bunch of the main games media outlets which contribute to the awards.
From what I understand, a lot of these outlets get invited to a special sort of press week before E3 itself and get to see a lot of the stuff in advance without the hubbub of E3. Yeah,
Judges Week. Yeah. But I think it's interesting to see what comes out as the winners. So I'll just run through a few of them. Some of them are surprising, some of them are predictable. So like best original game was Dreams, which I think is interesting because they didn't have a new public trailer as far as I saw for Dreams.
No,
so
they had a character show up a few times. A few characters show up in the Sony presentation.
Yeah,
that was about
just
it.
like the interstitials. Yeah.
So they did actually have stuff on the show floor.
Yeah,
but
okay.
that Sony conference was bad.
Yeah.
And the fact that they didn't actually show streams, and the fact that when you see what they were showing at E3 and how impressive it is, that should have absolutely been at the Sony conference. I'm surprised they didn't.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah,
it.
so the fact that it won Best Original Game for the whole show, I would have loved to have seen what it did to deserve that. So that's a strange one. Best console game was Spider-Man.
Hell yeah.
Best VR game Tetris Effect, which I'm super hyped for.
Yeah.
Best PC game was Anthem, which is an interesting one because I think a lot of people are thinking of that more as a console game, but maybe they wanted to give it to Dreams, so they put Anthem in PC. And that also won Best Action Game, Anthem. Best hardware, predictably, the adaptive Xbox controller, because I don't think there was much competition in that category, but that's a cool one anyway.
Not this year.
Best fighting game, Smash Bros. Yeah. Best RPG, Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm sure you love that one, Luke. You're a huge Kingdom Hearts 3 fan.
Oh, look, I don't really hate the game because I don't know enough about it to base my hatred on, but I was sick of seeing 3 trailers for it by the end of that show, I can tell you.
Yeah.
And how badly edited it was. Like, it always threw me when the latter half of the trailer, the audio kind of cuts out and it's just voices, and it just is so weird.
Matt,
it's so strange.
I'm sitting in a bottle of corked rage at the moment. Don't pop the top.
And then a bunch of other predictable ones: Forza Horizon for racing, FIFA for sports. But the best game of show from the E3 Game Critics Awards was Resident Evil 2 Remake, which I think is pretty interesting. Yeah. Because, obviously Resident Evil 2, beloved game, and the remake does look really cool. And I've heard from the people who actually played the hands-on demo that it's, like, spooky and the controls feel really good, and the zombie, like, violence physics is apparently really good. Like, the gore in the game is, like, super detailed, but, like, very visceral. But, yeah, best of show, Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I will pick that up when it comes out, even though I played the original, because I'll be one of those people that luckily will be able to draw the comparisons between the two and enjoy it all over again.
I'm for sure going to pick that up.
Is good. I really should pick up the remake of 1 too. Anyway, all right. Well, last thing, which I'm interested to get Matt's take on as well, given that this is probably going to mess with your world a little bit in terms of Valve. So Valve, you may remember, actually shut down a lot of the data that was available in terms of game purchase stats and customer information that actually allowed a service called SteamSpy to operate. And so SteamSpy, while it's kind of been chugging along, it has really had its teeth removed in recent months as a result of Valve's changes to the way Steam operates.
It just shut down. It had to shut down.
Did it actually shut down? I knew they were trying to sort of keep it operating in the background with a much stripped down sort of set of user data, and I'm not sure whether they actually kept it going or not. It's a project.
I'm pretty sure this website's still operating.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't have the useful data that it used to have.
That's it. So, customer confidence in what they had was pretty much, disappeared as a result. So, as you'd expect. But, Valve has come out this week and said that they're actually going to be looking at offering a new set of tools to replace SteamSpy. So, after 2 months since their privacy changes, basically caused this big mess, they're going to actually make data and some features similar to what SteamSpy was offering previously available to publishers. So SteamSpy, they were saying had a pretty broad variance in how accurate the data was. And, for some games it was really accurate, but for others it was way off. So what they are looking at doing is actually providing figures directly from Valve, which should be a lot more accurate and useful than what SteamSpy previously had. Now, Matt, as a producer for Stirfire Studios, sort of sitting in the developer space and working, in a role that makes all this stuff super relevant, what's your take on that? Do you think that'll actually be well received?
Valve. Like, poor Valve. I say poor Valve, but they keep on digging the holes for themselves. Like, the best thing they could have done was gone to the guy that made SteamSpy and basically said, hey, we appreciate the tools that you've done, but we would much rather that they be running inside of our services. So how about we offer you a job to come to us and make those tools for us? Because now we don't know what we're going to get, right? Whereas that's a way better PR pitch, right? Like, hey, yes, so SteamSpy is going to be shutting down because the guy that was working on it is now working for Valve, but that means you're going to get all those cool tools that you had with SteamSpy, but now you're going to get them inside of Steam, and they're going to be incredibly accurate. Like, that would have been great. But it's hard to say whether or not it's going to be useful when it's just Valve kind of, patting game developers on the head and saying, all that cool stuff you had in SteamSpy, we're making something new. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. When you look at how Steam operates and the process for game developers to get on there, the way that a lot of stuff has to get done is incredibly difficult to do. So like pre-ordering, if you're an indie game developer and you haven't got much of a rep, good luck getting your game to have pre-orders on it inside of Steam, because they don't like gunking up their front page with a whole bunch of indie games. It's one of the few places, like basically the way that Steam operates is like, well, we don't have to go and curate our system if there's nothing there to curate, basically, right? So the only way to get your stuff on pre-order is having a contact inside of Steam that will actually read your email and reply to it and go and set that system up for you. Mm-hmm. So I'm not entirely confident in the tools, but if they actually do come out and they're good, then awesome. But yeah, it's just, it's a pat on the head right now. That's what it is.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that this is like Steam coming out and saying, we're confident we'll get to a solution which will be understood and accepted by our gaming community, while at the same time supporting our business.
Basically, yeah. Like,
where have I heard this before?
It sounds good in theory, but it's all theory right now. Until we get our hands on the tools could be incredible. And if they're incredible, then I'll totally change my tune and be like, this is great. This is awesome what Valve has done. But given their habit in past of doing stuff that's not particularly helpful for game developers, I'm sketchy.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, I'm not going to let that segue sit in the air for too long. Speaking of incredible tools,
hey, let's dig in.
That's all right, let's dig in. All right, so our topic of the week, which we now are going to jump into, of course, it's Party Game of the Month time. So, Christian, what are we reviewing this month? What's the game?
We're reviewing Steamworld Dig 2, which is a sequel to a game I never played. Did you play the first one, Luke?
I did not, even though this one was my pick on the list. I did not. I've chosen it for other reasons.
So Steamworld Dig 2 is a platform game where you play a little robot character and you have a pickaxe, and there's a block-based map that you can mine through, kind of like Terraria style, and you dig up little minerals and you trade them in a town full of other little robots, and then you also have to fight Gribblies and get upgrades for your pickaxe and different tools that you unlock. And it has a Metroidvania angle to it, where there are certain like maybe types of blocks or certain areas that you can only get into once you've unlock certain upgrades or progress to a certain point through the game. And there are little like challenge rooms with like puzzles you have to solve using the different tools you have available to you. It's pretty fun little game. I played it on the Nintendo Switch. What did you guys play it on?
Yeah, as did I. Oh, actually, no. I played it on PC as well. I played it on two platforms.
I got in 2 hours this afternoon. I got to waze through it. I was playing it on the PC as well with Xbox One controller. So
nice. I picked it up on PC initially, and then when we started talking recently about it being on Switch, I went and after I'd played a bit and realised that this is actually going to be a really fun game for my kids as well, I purchased it on Switch, and I'm glad I did, because that game is super good on Switch, as it turns out.
Yeah. It's awesome on Switch, yeah. I played it on my probably 50-50 between handheld and my TV. But like at one point I was literally lying in bed with like holding the controller under the covers with the Switch just like propped up on the other side of the bed next to me, just like lying down, playing, like hiding from the cold. But it was awesome. Yeah. Switch is great.
I think one of the things that makes it really a good fit for Switch as well is that, like in terms of the size of the assets on screen, I was kind of expecting more of a Spelunky. But what we ended up getting, I think, is probably about as zoomed in as maybe like double the size of that. Maybe not quite double, but close to. Like the main character and the blocks and that sort of thing are large enough that I think playing on a handheld the size of Switch is actually not, you're not going to be sort of focusing and straining your eyes much on small sprites at all. It's actually a really good size for it. So, yeah.
How far did you get through the game, Luke?
I didn't finish, but I think I'm pretty close. So, yeah, I mean, you get a pretty good idea of how big the map is and how much of the tech tree progression stuff you sort of unlock as you go through. So I'm most of the way through that, and I have been sort of playing it fairly completionist, like, getting as many of the relics and getting as many of the upgrade cogs and things as I can find and that sort of thing. So, I think I'm pretty close. I reckon, because the game as a whole, from what I understand, and you can sort of throw in your experience as well to confirm or deny this, I think it's probably about 10 hours. Like, you might play a bit more if you want to go through and find absolutely everything, but it seems like about a 10-hour game. So
yeah, I did finish it, and I think my clock time was 9 hours.
Yeah.
But there is a little post-game area. There's like a super hard challenge room that you can go into if you collect all of the relics in the game. Okay. I didn't get around to that, so there is something left over for me to do if I feel like it. But I feel like I got all the upgrades that I wanted, and I did all of the basic challenge rooms, or like the doors that you go through.
Yeah.
And yeah, one thing I really like about those little challenge rooms, it reminds me a lot of the shrines in Breath of the Wild, where there's a basic way that you can solve them and get like the standard reward, but each of them have like an extra challenge in them too, just like another reward that if you're crafty enough you can find and pick up as well, and then you can actually get like the if you see the tick on the mini map, then you know that you've gotten all of the rewards from that. So I like that extra challenge in there, which is cool.
Yeah. So with 2 hours play, Matt, you've actually probably gotten a pretty good sample of this game. I think you'd probably see a lot of the content in 2 hours to get a feel for how it was going to play. So what was your experience like?
Yeah, so when I first started off, I found it a little bit floaty, and it took a little bit to get adjusted to the controls. But the moment that I had gotten adjusted to them, I was having a really great time. Like, so there's like a little rocky area to the right of the town that you kind of end up spending most of your time in, at least the point I'm at. And I found myself like bouncing from wall to wall up to the town and everything, and getting into the town, just kind of hopping through, and it was really great fun. I also found it kind of was reminding me of some other games that I've played, Minecraft-esque type things, where you end up kind of planning out how you're going to dig down deeper into the caves, so that you can make it easier for you to actually navigate back up when you need to get up. Yeah. You end up strategizing ways to actually get to minerals that you can see, because you're like, well, I'm below that mineral right now, and it's just a straight tunnel up ahead of me, so I'm going to need to find some way to get higher up and come down onto the mineral instead, because you can't, just hold onto a wall and throw a grenade off to your side so you can actually start digging in a straight line to your right?
Yeah.
So you end up with all these interesting ways of strategizing to move around inside the cave system. It's actually really cool. At first, when you first start the game off, it's really rough, because until you actually get that sticky grenade thing unlocked, it's incredibly difficult to do much of anything, because your options for digging are basically the block ahead of you, above you rather, or going left, going right, and going down. That's basically it. So the moment that you're needing to go up and get anything above you, the game's incredibly difficult to do.
And even if you grenade up, you still can't sort of get purchase on anything up there. You can only just go up into a hole and then not stand on anything. So yeah,
absolutely, yeah. I do love. I was kind of taken off guard about how much emphasis there is on actually bouncing around everywhere. It was actually really neat. So I know one of the little challenge caves that I unlocked, I got all the way through it, and I'm like, there's a little sandy block in this one little nook up there. How do I get to that? And I ended up spending like 5 minutes just kind of running around the level before realizing, if I sprint off this one platform and then jump in reverse direction midair, I can hit that ledge and then bounce my way up it. And the moment I figured that out, I'm like, it's actually really satisfying. And it completely changed the way I actually started thinking about navigating the mines that I was digging. Because I'm like, I can do way more trick jumps now to actually move around. There's way more options open to me that you kind of figure out just by moving around and completing those puzzles. It's really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up playing more.
I'm definitely going to finish this game. There is no doubt. I'm actually struggling to find things to criticize, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm not saying it's by any length the perfect game, but holy shit, there's not a lot bad I could say about it. Like, from a design perspective, there's a couple of things that I really love that it does extremely well compared to other Metroidvania sort of style platformers. One is that I think that in terms of the navigation, like one of the follies of a lot of Metroidvania games is because of that progressive system that they all tend to have, where a lot of the ways that you sort of move around the map and access new areas is based on weapons and upgrades that you have, and you kind of need to go and get a thing before you can unlock a thing, and there's a lot of back and forth sort of traversal and covering the same ground again, which can get quite monotonous. You feel like you're sort of running chores to kind of get an item so that you can go back to an area that's like miles away and access a new area. The fast sort of transit system that exists in this game, I think, actually bypasses a lot of that, and it makes it a lot less tedious, which is great. The other thing I think it does really well is in terms of the upgrades, like there are upgrades that you can select that really do make the game significantly easier for you, but there's a finite number of the upgrades that you have available that you can kind of, like your cogs that you use to sort of power up these things. So you unlock them with blueprints, and then you can sort of activate them using cogs, and you've only got so many cogs. But the cool thing is that the cogs are reusable. So you actually, when you spend them on an upgrade, they're not permanent. You can actually take them out and put them in something else. So you can completely change your loadout and change the way that you play to either suit what's comfortable and familiar and fun, or you can kit yourself out for a particular purpose depending on what your need is in game. So if you want to do an area and be a whole lot more survivable and have like a greater inventory space, you can put all your upgrades in that sort of direction and give yourself more bag slots and lose less ore when you die and that kind of thing. Or if you want to put all your upgrades into increasing your damage because you know you're going to be going to an enemy heavy area, you want to be able to do more damage with your pick, or gain more health from various different actions, you can spec out that way temporarily and then change it completely afterwards. So that customization, I think, was just absolutely awesome. Real big fan of how they did that. So
yeah,
definitely. I really like their fast travel system too, especially that you can once you get close enough, you can see the next fast travel location on your mini map, and then so it gives you a little challenge where you're like, if I just keep going a bit further, I can unlock that next travel point instead of having to go all the way back up. But there's the light system in the game where you have a lamp with only a certain amount of fuel, and the longer you stay down in the mine, your visibility decreases. So you might think, oh, I can power on through the next fast travel point, but do I have enough light to make it all the way there? And it has a bit of like a risk reward to it, which I think is pretty cool.
It reminded me a little bit of Darkest Dungeon, but not in the same brutal way that game handles running out of torch. Yeah.
I will say the lantern is one of the things I didn't quite like, at least in the start of the game, because it's one of the like. I'm going around the mines and everything. It's like, okay, I'm just digging. Wait, everything's getting way darker. Up there goes land. Okay, well, I'm going to get up to the fast travel point that I was just near. Go back up. Just literally go to the surface, stand there for a second, then go back down again. It feels just like making a kind of chore that you need to repeat. So the upgrades that I ended up focusing on is just like, I just want more lamp, so I have to go to the surface less. I can spend more time in the mines, get more minerals.
I did the exact same thing. I think the lamp system, it's like a cool idea, but there's just something a little bit about the execution, whether it's just the length of time or the actual radius of the light or something, but it could just do with a bit of tweaking. And I ended up powering all my upgrades because I saw that there was one that you eventually get, which is that your light never drops below 50%. So I just put everything I could into that tree until I had that, and then so that then I never had to worry about the light ever again. And that mechanic ends up being sort of going by the wayside because you just get that 50% buff, and then you never have to worry about it again. So something could be improved there.
I must admit, I didn't hate that mechanic because I saw how it sort of fit with the theme really well. But now that you're talking about it, I do understand what your complaints, and I guess I kind of don't understand why they included it in the first place in terms of, like, it seems it would encourage players to not push their risk too far with doing like a long ore run, because you could die and lose a whole bunch of it. It kind of forces you up to the surface to sell your stuff before it becomes too risky. But by the same token, your limited bag space kind of achieves the same goal. So I'm wondering why. Yeah,
definitely.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
They could have had something kind of like is it Dying Light, where when it gets dark, there's like different monsters come out, or even like Minecraft, where different monsters come out when it's dark. There could have been a risk reward system in there where there's like better drops you can get if you let the light go down further or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
So I'll actually be honest. One of the first things that I did when I realized that the lamp was a thing was I let the lamp just die, and I just hung out in the caves and kept on doing stuff for a while. And because it starts up this really kind of creepy ambient sound in the background that sounds like if you keep on staying down there with it just dark, something's going to happen. And like 5 minutes down there, still picking up minerals, and nothing ever does. And that's a little, because I agree. If they were spawning stuff when the lamp ran out, I'd be way cooler with that system, but instead it just feels like, okay, well, either I'm going back to the surface because my bags are full, which means I'm getting a reward, or I'm going back to the surface to recharge my lamp because otherwise it's dark and I can't get more minerals. That's a little bit... There's no reward for that, right? Like, the reward is just going back down into the mines and retracing your steps back to where you were to pick up where you left off.
Definitely. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about the game, which is the traversal, actually, how, Matt, you were mentioning the way you jump around and can sort of get into nooks and crannies and clamber up surfaces, it ends up feeling quite good. And as you progress further in the game, you end up actually unlocking new tools that you can use to get around in different ways.
The hook shot is so fun.
Yeah, so you get a hook shot and it's really fun. And then have you got the one after that, Luke? Have you got the jetpack?
No, but I know that it's in the game. I haven't got the jetpack yet. Yep.
So you go from like just jumping around to getting the hook shot, and then you eventually get the jetpack, and then in the end you get the jetpack has a Farah Overwatch fuel system where you have to land after a certain amount of time to recharge it. But eventually you can get like an unlimited jetpack, and then so there are like environments and like puzzles and things which just kind of completely change when you've got an unlimited jetpack, but the game is designed and like balanced around that. So it makes it like, it gives you this awesome sense of progression and freedom of movement, but the game manages to balance it and just make it feel really satisfying. It gives you a little bit of that vibe of like, I'm doing stuff that I shouldn't be able to do. Like you're breaking through what the game is wanting you to do, but it's obviously very intended and everything's balanced around it. So it feels really good.
Yeah. Now, the characters in the game were kind of interesting. So the main character that you play as Dorothy, I got the sense that there was some definite story stuff that happened in the first game that they were kind of referring back to that didn't make a whole bunch of sense until you progressed through a little bit. So the main sort of conceit seems to be that you're hunting for Rusty, which I assume was the main sort of protagonist of the first game. And from what I gather, Rusty kind of, dug down and fought some sort of ancient entity that, was threatening the town or something. And now he's gone missing, so you're kind of trying to find him. So it's a change of character from the first game. But the other character that I really, really liked is one of the first encounters that you have and the first sort of small boss fight that you go through. You end up picking up an AI that sort of performs your map function in-game. I can't remember the name of it. It's like Fez or something. Yeah, it's got a weird sort of funky name. It's like this tiny little cyber ghost that follows you around and kind of lives in your boiler, but it's got like a mean streak to it and a penchant for violence and chaos, and it pops out at the funniest times. And I'm not ashamed to admit that at the moment where you go up to the top of the mountain where the first town is, and the little thing pops out and says, "Hey, looks like that'd be kind of fun to try, jumping off and just seeing what would happen." I thought to myself, is that like a hint as to where a secret's located? No, the fucker just wants you to die.
Yep, same thing happened to me.
So, yeah, that was cool. And, later on in the game when it tells you to just dip your foot in the lava to see what would happen, I was wise to its game at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a point at which, like, where I've gotten to and it pops out and it's like, man, it'd be really great if we got through this area and found something to just blow all of this up.
Oh, that's awesome. Love it. Even the denizens of the actual sort of main town, like it's got this really cool sort of Western, steampunk vibe going with all of the different the characters in the town, and they're all different and very unique. Like none of the two robots really look alike. They've put a lot of time and thought into how these things are actually going to appear. So, but yeah, I mean, graphically the game is an achievement. It looks so gorgeous. It is.
It's really like smooth, crisp, cartoony style.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah.
My only shortcoming with it is the town area in particular. It's really noisy. Like there's a lot of stuff in there. I found myself in the town area a couple of times squinting. So I'm just like, there's so much going on screen. But once you get down into the mines, it's fine. Like the backgrounds are really nicely faded away. It's really, really good when you're down there. There's a real sense of depth. But in the town itself, it's just like, oh my God, there's just so much going on.
A real sense of depth in the mines. Nice one, Matt.
Yeah.
I can dig it.
I really like the sound design too. I like the music a lot in the game. It's kind of this chill vibe.
Yeah. Someone described it to me in a way that they quite enjoyed it. It didn't get monotonous or repetitive, but it's also the sort of soundtrack that you could quite easily just minimize it and put a podcast on and not lose anything from
Absolutely.
the game.
Easy, yeah, for sure.
Which is good. Like, unless the music's actually trying to be a main feature and make a statement, I find that that's usually a pretty happy place for it to sit. So, yeah. But it's Steamworld Dig 2. We should probably mention as well the developer publisher is Image and Form Games. Hasn't been out for too long. It came out September last year, so it's a reasonably recent release, and it's available on just about every platform except for mobile, I believe. So it's on Switch, it's on PS4, it's on Linux, it's on Xbox. You can play it on just about everything you want. So and you can pick it up on Steam typically for US $19.99. It's on sale at the moment with Steam sales. So, yeah, if you listen to us talking about it tonight and you think it sounds pretty good, you might want to jump on that sooner rather than later. Just saying. Good opportunity. Yeah. I guess closing thoughts on the game. Would recommend, big fan. What do you guys think? Where do you land on it, Christian?
Big fan. Would recommend.
Yep.
Definitely.
And Matt, you're 2 hours in. You said you want to jump back in and play more, so it sounds like you're in a similar boat.
I'm going to buy it on Switch.
Yep. Nice. Yeah. I love this game. Obviously I'm a big Metroidvania fan as it is, so, there's a reason why I picked this one for the list, but yeah, holy crap, this was exactly what I was hoping it was going to be and then some, so.
I will say, having gone into it, the moment I saw, okay, indie developer, it's a platformer, I'm a little bit terrified. Not because I'm worried that it's going to be bad, but because as an indie developer making a platformer, you're entering into such a competitive space. Yeah. That it takes a lot to stand out. And I don't think this has really stood out in terms of its marketing and PR, which is unfortunate because it's a really good game. So I'm really impressed. So I hope more people pick it up.
Yep.
I think sales-wise, it's done all right on the Switch at least. I think I've seen it charting at some point.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a reason why I want to buy it on Switch. It's a really good game. Since I got my Switch, I basically end up playing my Switch mostly when I'm on my 30-minute train ride to and from work. And it's a really good thing just to whip out and just, sit there on the train. And this seems like the perfect game to do that. Very easy just to go back to a fast travel point, go back to the surface, turn the Switch off. Yep. So,
well, given the date that it came out, and I think it was actually out on Switch first, it might have been ahead of the other consoles by a few days. It seems like it was out around that time that the Switch library wasn't as full as it is now, so it might have been a bit ahead of the pack and riding that wave of the Switch getting a lot of positive attention because of all the indies that were popping up on it. So good timing for them. So all right, well, we need to pick next month's game. So we have a list of suggestions of all of the different games that people have submitted to us or that we have picked ourselves for the list. And I am, of course, because I'm doing the talking at this exact moment, I get to throw to Christian to tell us how people submit ideas for the list. So how do they do that?
Right, so we have some rules that you must abide by if you're going to suggest games for our list.
Or else.
We want the game to actually be released, so please don't recommend a game that's coming soon. We want to be able to play it on PC, mobile, or multi-platform, so basically just not a console exclusive for poor people like me who don't have an Xbox. We don't want to spend more than $30 US on the game, so try to keep it under that budget, just in case we don't like it and then we haven't sort of wasted our money. We would like to be able to get a good impression of the game after just a couple of hours, so nothing that takes like a huge time commitment, so don't go recommending like Dwarf Fortress or something like that. And you can send us the suggestions via email, Twitter, or Facebook. So I'll rattle off our contacts now because we'll be wrapping up the show just after we pick our next game. So that email address is mail@partyloaded.com. Our Twitter is @partyloadedshow, and the Facebook page is just Party Loaded. So find us on there, recommend us a game. We'd love to add it. And I actually don't see your name next to any of these games, Matt. So I'd like you to suggest us a game in the future.
I will do that.
Yeah. Do you have one now?
They've called me out. I have to.
Well, I mean, if you got one now, we can add it to the list. If not, we'll expect something in the mix for next month at the very least.
Off the top of my head. I have to think of something.
Okay,
have a thing.
That's cool. We do have quite a few to choose from. We could get you involved tonight, though. Do you happen to have any die lying around or a random number generator of some sort?
Actually, I do have my Dungeons & Dragons dice here.
Nice.
Get that D12 out.
Yep.
We've got
D12?
12 games on the list at the moment. Yep.
Beautiful. Now, this is perfect because Matt cannot actually see the list. So we know.
So you can't rig it.
Yep.
So I can't cheat.
That's it. Not that
I'm
we
pretty
ever
sure
have
Luke
anyway,
did.
because we pretty much everything on the list we are kind of interested in anyway. So, all right, well, give that bad boy a roll and let us know what we get.
Yep, that's it. Okay, here we go. That's a 10.
Slay the Spire!
Holy
Yay!
shit! It's like
it's
fate.
my pick.
It's like fate picked this one for us. Oh man, I can think of at least 2 people who listen to the show that are super happy with this one. Excellent. All right, what the hell is Slay the Spire, Christian?
So Slay the Spire it's a player versus environment card-based game. It's like a roguelike deck building game. It's on PC, you can get it through Steam, and it's on Mac and Linux. And basically, I've just seen a few people on Twitch playing it. Some Hearthstone streamers that I know have messed around with Slay the Spire, and it just looks really fun. Deck building, roguelike. So it's cool.
There's a couple of our friends that have been playing this non-stop for the last 2 weeks. I've been hearing about it constantly. So I'm just messaging them right now to let them know that they're going to be very, very happy about what we rolled up tonight. So
definitely seems like my kind of game. So hopefully I do enjoy it.
Yep, absolutely. Good.
Yeah, I haven't actually heard about it. It looks good.
Yeah, well, Darcy from League of Geeks was the one that sort of recommended it to us initially prior to when I'd heard about it. I think Christian knew about it already, but yeah, it does seem like a super, super fun game. So, all right, we'll consider that a win. Good one. So yeah, that is Party Game of the Month. We'll be kicking that off again in the first episode of next month. So that'll be our Party Game review for August. We've covered all the contact already. If you want to catch us on any of the other spots, we are, of course, on YouTube at youtube.com/channelendgame. And you can also catch us on Twitch when we occasionally stream, which is on twitch.tv/partyloaded. Now, because the 3 of us on tonight that are actually fairly active on the social medias, I'm going to do a bit of a Twitter shout out for all 3 of us as well. So you want to catch Matt. Where can they find you on Twitter, Matt?
They can find me at GameDad Matt.
Easy one to remember. Nice and easy. Christian, now you're at Millpool, if I remember correctly. No, you're at CPB.
No, I'm not. I'm at EGCPB, so it's a bit of a weird handle. I had to modify it from an old work handle, but yeah, at EGCPB.
That's it. So EG, Christian, Paulson, Brown. The initials.
That's right.
Yeah, nice and easy. I'm just at Luke_Retallick, so pretty easy to remember. Of course, if you can actually spell my surname, congratulations, you passed the test. But you'll find our stuff, regularly retweeted from the main Party Loaded Twitter account as well. So not hard to locate us through that. But yeah, Matt, thanks so much for coming out and hanging with us again tonight. It's been awesome to have you back on. We'll relish the opportunity to do this again in future and talk about all sorts of crazy games. So Dinosaur Theme Parks, that was an addition to the show that I didn't anticipate tonight that I think ended up playing out quite well. So, yeah.
Dinosaur Theme Park turns out being really good.
Yeah.
Except for all the people that keep on dying.
Yeah.
That's
it.
Plenty more.
All of the guests will be wrapped, for sure. Nice. All right, well, that's it for tonight. Thanks to you, everybody, for listening. Thanks for hanging out with us again. We'll be back again with some more fun in a week's time. Hopefully, Jam will be back. I said that last week. We'll see how that plays out. But regardless, we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. And for now, good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.